They noticed it before you did. Not because you walked into a room and demanded attention. Not because you tried to impress anyone. But because there was something about you that made people stop for a second longer than usual. Something that didn't fit their expectations. Something they couldn't fully explain. And the strange part? The more time passes, the more obvious it becomes. People look at you and silently ask themselves the same question. How is that possible? Because your beauty and your age seem to tell two completely different stories. One story is visible. The other is hidden. And today, we're going to talk about the secret that has shocked everyone around you. Stay with me until the end because the final revelation explains why so many people have been paying attention to you without ever telling you. What you're about to hear may completely change the way you see yourself. Because this isn't only about appearance. It's about something far deeper. Something rare. Something unique. Something that cannot be copied. Most people believe beauty is simple. They think beauty comes from perfect features. Perfect skin. Perfect proportions. Perfect timing. But life proves otherwise. Have you ever met someone who looked flawless yet somehow left no lasting impression? And have you ever met another person who seemed impossible to forget? Not because they were perfect, but because they carried something else. Something alive. Something magnetic. That is where the mystery begins. You see, there are two kinds of beauty in this world. The first kind fades when circumstances change. The second kind grows stronger with time. Most people spend their entire lives chasing the first type. Very few ever discover the second. Yet somehow, you seem connected to it. That is why people are confused. That is why they stare. That is why they remember you long after conversations end. And that is why your age seems to surprise them. Because they are measuring you using ordinary standards. But there is nothing ordinary about what you carry. Think about this. Why do some people become more attractive as the years pass? Why do certain individuals seem to gain presence instead of losing it? Why do they appear more confident, more radiant, more alive? The answer is simple. Their appearance is no longer being powered by youth alone. It is being powered by identity. And identity ages differently. When someone knows who they are, their energy changes. Their eyes change. Their posture changes. Their voice changes. Everything changes. People can sense it immediately. Even when they don't understand it. And perhaps that is exactly what has been happening to you. Because what shocks people isn't simply how you look. It's the contradiction they see. The numbers suggest one thing. Your presence suggests another. And the human mind struggles with contradictions. It wants everything to fit neatly into categories. But you don't fit. That's why people keep noticing you. That's why they keep remembering you. That's why some of them secretly compare themselves to you. Not because you're better than them. But because you remind them that life doesn't always follow predictable rules. And there is another reason. A reason almost nobody talks about. Every experience you survived added something invisible to your appearance. Every disappointment. Every lesson. Every victory. Every heartbreak. Every challenge. Most people think these moments only affect the inside. But they don't. They leave marks on the outside too. Not marks of damage. Marks of depth. And depth has a beauty of its own. A beauty that cameras struggle to capture. A beauty that filters cannot create. A beauty that cannot be purchased. People see it. Even if they don't know what they're seeing. That is why strangers often trust certain individuals immediately. That is why some faces feel comforting. That is why some smiles feel genuine. That is why some people seem unforgettable. The world notices authenticity. And authenticity becomes more powerful with time. Now here's where things become even more interesting. Many people who admire you may never admit it. In fact, some of them do the opposite. They become distant. Critical. Uncomfortable. Not because they dislike you. But because your presence forces them to confront something within themselves. When people see someone who carries confidence without arrogance, beauty without desperation, strength without aggression, they are reminded of what they wish they possessed. And not everyone enjoys that feeling. So sometimes admiration hides behind silence. Sometimes respect hides behind distance. Sometimes attraction hides behind awkwardness. And sometimes envy hides behind criticism. This explains many confusing experiences you've had. Moments when people reacted strangely. Moments when compliments felt incomplete. Moments when someone seemed fascinated by you one day and distant the next. The truth is that people often reveal more about themselves than they reveal about you. And that brings us to a shocking realization. What people notice most about you may not be what you think. You might believe they're focused on your appearance. But appearance is only the doorway. What keeps their attention is something else. Something deeper. Something harder to describe. Your energy. Your presence. Your uniqueness. And uniqueness is becoming increasingly rare. Look around. Millions of people are trying to look the same. Dress the same. Talk the same. Think the same. Follow the same trends. Copy the same formulas. But the people who leave lasting impressions are never copies. They are originals. And originality creates fascination. That fascination is what many people feel when they encounter you. Even if they cannot explain it. Even if they never say it aloud. Even if they try to ignore it. Now let me tell you something that may surprise you. There are people who have spent years wondering about you. Years. People from your past. People who knew you briefly. People who crossed paths with you for only a short time. Yet somehow, they still remember you. Not because of something dramatic. Not because of something extraordinary. But because there was a feeling attached to your presence. And feelings create stronger memories than facts. Think about the people you remember most. Often, it's not because of what they said. It's because of how they made you feel. The same thing happens with you. And that is part of your uniqueness. You leave impressions that outlast the moment. That is rare. Very rare. Now let's go deeper. Because there is another hidden reason why your beauty and age seem to surprise people. Most individuals carry stress in a visible way. They carry fear, regret, bitterness, resentment. These emotions slowly shape their appearance. They become heavier, darker, more exhausted. But every time you choose growth over bitterness, every time you choose hope over defeat, every time you refuse to let negativity define you, you protect something precious. Your light. And light changes everything. People may not use that word, but they feel it. They notice it. They respond to it. Some are drawn toward it. Some are intimidated by it. But nobody is completely unaffected by it. That is why your presence creates reactions. That is why your age becomes difficult to guess. That is why people keep wondering about you. Because what they see doesn't match what they expect. And human beings are naturally fascinated by mysteries. Now here's the revelation you've been waiting for. The unique thing about you is not a feature. Not a hairstyle. Not a number. Not a secret product. Not luck. The unique thing about you is that your appearance and your spirit are working together. Most people have one without the other. Some have outer beauty but lack inner confidence. Others have incredible character but never allow themselves to shine. But when inner strength and outer presence align, something unusual happens. People notice. They always notice. And that alignment becomes more powerful with age, not less. Because it is built on experience. Built on wisdom. Built on resilience. Built on truth. That is why people are shocked. That is why they keep talking about you when you're not around. That is why they keep wondering what your secret is. And the funny thing? Many of them assume there must be some hidden formula. Some hidden advantage. Some hidden trick. But the truth is much simpler. You became yourself. And becoming yourself is one of the rarest achievements in the modern world. Most people spend their lives trying to become someone else. Yet authenticity has always been the most attractive quality a person can possess. Always. And it always will be. So the next time someone looks surprised when they learn your age, the next time someone stares a little longer than expected, the next time someone says, "You don't look your age," remember this. They are not only reacting to your appearance. They are reacting to your story. Your growth. Your resilience. Your energy. Your uniqueness. They are seeing evidence of a life lived with depth. And depth has a beauty that never goes out of style. Never. Because true beauty is not measured by years. It is measured by presence. Not by age. By energy. Not by perfection. By authenticity. And that is the secret people have been noticing all along. The thing that shocks them. The thing they struggle to explain. The thing that makes you unforgettable. You carry something that time could not take away. In fact, time made it stronger. And that is what makes you unique. That is what makes people remember you. That is what makes people wonder about you. And that is why your beauty and your age continue to surprise everyone who meets you. Because while many people become older, you became more yourself. And there is nothing more powerful than that. Now, here is where the story becomes even more surprising. Because there is a question many people have secretly asked themselves about you. A question they would never say out loud. A question that has crossed the minds of friends, strangers, old acquaintances, and even people who barely know you. The question is this: what happened to them? Not in a negative way. Not because they think something is wrong. But because they cannot understand why you seem different from everyone else. They have watched other people change dramatically over the years. Some became bitter. Some became exhausted. Some lost their spark. Some stopped dreaming. Some surrendered to disappointment. Yet somehow, there is still something alive inside you. Something that refuses to disappear. And people notice it. More than you realize. In fact, some people notice it before you do. Because human beings are naturally attracted to signs of life. Not just physical life. Emotional life. Spiritual life. Mental life. The kind of life that shines through someone's eyes. The kind that cannot be faked. The kind that cannot be manufactured. And that may be the biggest reason people are so fascinated by you. You carry evidence of survival. Think about that. Every challenge you overcame added another layer to who you are. Every difficult season strengthened something within you. Every obstacle taught you something valuable. Yet instead of becoming harder, you became deeper. Instead of becoming colder, you became wiser. Instead of becoming cynical, you became more aware. That combination is rare. Extremely rare. Because many people allow pain to shrink them. You allowed pain to teach you. And there is a massive difference between those two outcomes. People feel that difference. Even if they don't understand why. Now, let's talk about something almost nobody discusses. There are individuals who have been watching your journey from a distance. Old classmates. Former co-workers. Past friends. People you haven't spoken to in years. And every once in a while, your name appears somewhere. A photograph. A social media post. A conversation. A memory. And they stop. For a moment, they stop. Because the image they carried of you no longer matches reality. You changed. You evolved. You grew. And growth surprises people. Especially the people who underestimated you. Especially the people who assumed they had already figured you out. Because nothing confuses others more than seeing someone become greater than expected. There are people who believe they knew exactly who you would become. They created a mental picture years ago. They placed limits on you. They placed labels on you. They decided what your future would look like. But life had different plans. And now those old predictions no longer fit. That is why your presence creates such strong reactions. You shattered expectations. Without even trying. Now here's something even more shocking. Some people are attracted to you because of your confidence. Others are attracted to you because of your calmness. Others are attracted to your appearance. But there is another group. A much larger group. They are attracted to your mystery. And mystery is powerful. Not because you hide things. Not because you play games. But because people can sense there is more to you than what appears on the surface. They feel it. Every conversation reveals only a small piece. Every interaction leaves unanswered questions. Every encounter makes them curious. And curiosity creates fascination. The world is full of predictable people. Predictable thoughts. Predictable actions. Predictable stories. But every once in a while, someone appears who doesn't fit the pattern. Someone whose story feels unfinished. Someone whose potential feels larger than their current circumstances. Someone who seems destined for more. That feeling is what many people experience when they encounter you. Whether they admit it or not. And that feeling becomes stronger over time. Because every year reveals another layer. Another lesson. Another achievement. Another transformation. Another reason for people to look twice. Now let's discuss something very important. Many people believe beauty is something that disappears. But that belief is incomplete. Physical appearance changes. Everyone knows that. But presence can become stronger. Character can become stronger. Confidence can become stronger. Wisdom can become stronger. And when these qualities grow, they create a different kind of attractiveness. A more powerful kind. A more lasting kind. A kind that doesn't depend on trends. A kind that doesn't depend on approval. A kind that doesn't depend on validation. And that may be exactly what people are seeing in you. Because the older you become, the more comfortable you become with yourself. The more comfortable you become with yourself, the stronger your presence becomes. The stronger your presence becomes, the more memorable you become. And the more memorable you become, the more people notice. It's a cycle. A powerful cycle. One that very few people understand. Now here's another revelation. Some of the compliments you never received still existed. Read that again. Some of the compliments you never received still existed. People thought them. They just never said them. Maybe they felt shy. Maybe they felt intimidated. Maybe they assumed you already knew. Maybe they worried their words would sound strange. But the thoughts were there. Many times, people admire others silently. Far more often than anyone realizes. And if you could hear every private thought people have had about you over the years, you might be shocked. Not because everyone was positive. No human being receives universal admiration. But because you would discover how many people noticed qualities you never realized were visible. Your determination. Your kindness. Your growth. Your resilience. Your confidence. Your ability to keep moving forward. These things leave impressions. Powerful impressions. And impressions become memories. Now let's talk about the most overlooked part of your uniqueness. Your ability to continue becoming. Most people stop growing long before they stop aging. They settle. They repeat. They stagnate. But there are certain individuals who remain curious. Who remain open. Who remain willing to learn. Who remain willing to evolve. Those people age differently. Because growth creates energy. And energy creates presence. And presence creates attraction. That attraction is not limited to romance. It influences friendships, opportunities, conversations, connections, influence, leadership. Everything. People naturally gravitate toward growth. They always have. And they always will. Which brings us to a realization that might completely change the way you see yourself. Perhaps the reason people are surprised by your beauty and your age has nothing to do with appearance alone. Perhaps what shocks them is that you still possess qualities they expected life to take away. Hope. Passion. Curiosity. Warmth. Purpose. Dreams. Many people lose these things over time. You protected them. And protecting them made you different. Very different. Because a person who keeps their light becomes increasingly rare. The world notices rare things. The world remembers rare things. The world talks about rare things. And whether you realize it or not, your uniqueness has become impossible for many people to ignore. But the biggest revelation is still ahead. Because there is one final truth that explains everything. A truth that connects your beauty, your age, your presence, and the reactions people have toward you. And once you understand it, you'll never see yourself the same way again. The truth is this. People are not shocked because you escaped time. People are shocked because you learned how to work with it. Instead of fighting every year, you allowed every year to teach you something. Instead of fearing change, you grew through it. Instead of hiding from experience, you embraced it. And experience transformed you into someone deeper, wiser, stronger, and more authentic. That transformation became visible. Not overnight. Not all at once. But gradually. Year after year. Moment after moment. Choice after choice. Until one day people started noticing. And now they cannot stop noticing. Because authenticity shines brighter than perfection ever could. And authenticity becomes more beautiful with time. That is your secret. That is your uniqueness. And that is why your beauty and your age continue to shock everyone who crosses your path. And now we arrive at the part almost nobody expects. The part that explains why certain people become unforgettable while others slowly fade from memory. Because there is something happening around you that you may not even be aware of. Something invisible. Something powerful. Something that has been growing for years. Your influence. Not the kind of influence measured by followers. Not the kind measured by fame. Not the kind measured by money. A much deeper kind. The influence of presence. The influence of energy. The influence of becoming the person you were meant to be. You see, most people underestimate how much impact they have on others. They assume nobody is paying attention. Nobody is watching. Nobody is learning from them. Nobody is remembering them. But reality tells a different story. People notice more than they admit. Far more. Someone notices how you carry yourself during difficult moments. Someone notices how you treat people who cannot offer you anything in return. Someone notices your strength when life becomes challenging. Someone notices your patience. Someone notices your growth. Someone notices your confidence. And over time, those observations begin to create a picture. A picture of who you are. That picture becomes your reputation. And your reputation becomes part of your presence. Now here's what is truly fascinating. Many people spend years trying to improve their appearance while completely ignoring their presence. But presence is what people remember. Presence is what enters a room before words are spoken. Presence is what remains after conversations end. Presence is what causes people to think about you long after you've left. And your presence has been getting stronger. Not weaker. Stronger. That is one reason people are shocked. Because they expected time to diminish you. Instead, it revealed you. Think about that carefully. Time did not reduce your value. Time revealed your value. There is a difference. A huge difference. Gold does not become less valuable because years pass. Diamonds do not become less valuable because years pass. Certain things reveal their worth more clearly with time. The same principle applies to people. And perhaps that is exactly what has happened to you. The years didn't take away what made you special. The years exposed it. Layer by layer. Experience by experience. Lesson by lesson. Until it became impossible to ignore. Now let's talk about something many people never realize. There are individuals who secretly compare themselves to you. Not because they dislike you. Not because they want what you have. But because your journey challenges their assumptions. They look at you and think, maybe I've been limiting myself. Maybe growth doesn't have an expiration date. Maybe confidence can be learned. Maybe it's not too late. Without realizing it, your existence becomes evidence. Evidence that transformation is possible. Evidence that growth is possible. Evidence that authenticity is possible. And people are deeply affected by evidence. More than words. More than advice. More than motivation. When people see someone living proof of a possibility, something changes inside them. That is one reason your presence feels significant. Even when you're doing nothing extraordinary. Now here comes a revelation that might surprise you. Some of the people who admire you most are people you've never noticed. People who observe quietly. People who rarely speak. People who pay attention from a distance. The world is full of silent observers. People who remember details. People who notice patterns. People who watch growth unfold. And many of them have been noticing yours. You may never know their names. You may never hear their thoughts. You may never receive their compliments. But their admiration exists. And it has existed for longer than you realize. Because uniqueness attracts attention. Always. Not loud attention. Not dramatic attention. Real attention. The kind that stays. The kind that lasts. The kind that survives years. Now let's address something important. There may have been moments when you doubted yourself. Moments when you felt invisible. Moments when you questioned your value. Moments when you wondered whether anyone truly saw you. Those moments are human. Everyone experiences them. But those moments were never the full story. Because while you were questioning yourself, someone else was admiring your strength. While you were focusing on your flaws, someone else was noticing your qualities. While you were worrying about your future, someone else was inspired by your journey. This happens more often than people realize. Human beings are terrible at seeing themselves objectively. We magnify our weaknesses. We minimize our strengths. We remember our mistakes. We overlook our victories. And because of that, many people never realize how remarkable they appear through someone else's eyes. Perhaps that is true for you as well. Now let's go even deeper. The reason your beauty and your age shock people isn't because you broke the rules. It's because you discovered a truth most people miss. The truth is that true attractiveness begins inside and eventually becomes visible outside. It begins with self-respect. It begins with purpose. It begins with resilience. It begins with authenticity. Over time, these qualities reshape everything. The way you walk. The way you speak. The way you smile. The way you handle pressure. The way you connect with people. Everything. And once these qualities become part of you, they create a kind of beauty that cannot be manufactured. A kind of beauty that cannot be copied. A kind of beauty that cannot be bought. That beauty becomes part of your identity. And identity is powerful. Far more powerful than appearance alone. Now imagine two people entering a room. One has perfection but no confidence. The other has confidence, wisdom, warmth, and authenticity. Which one will people remember? The answer is obvious. Because memory is emotional. People remember how someone made them feel. Not simply how someone looked. That is why your presence leaves a mark. That is why conversations with you linger in people's minds. That is why years later, people still remember your name. You became associated with a feeling. And feelings survive much longer than details. Now we come to the final revelation. The revelation hidden behind everything we've discussed. The secret behind the surprise. The secret behind the admiration. The secret behind the fascination. The secret behind the attention. It is this. You have become proof that time is not always an enemy. For many people, time represents loss. Lost opportunities. Lost youth. Lost dreams. Lost possibilities. But your story suggests something different. Your story suggests growth. Your story suggests evolution. Your story suggests discovery. Your story suggests becoming. And becoming is one of the most beautiful processes in existence. Because becoming never truly ends. Every year teaches something new. Every challenge reveals something new. Every experience uncovers another layer. And every layer adds depth. Depth creates presence. Presence creates impact. Impact creates memories. Memories create legacy. That is why people are shocked. Not because you stopped time. Not because you escaped aging. Not because you discovered some secret nobody else knows. They are shocked because they expected time to reduce you. Instead, time refined you. Like gold purified by fire. Like a masterpiece completed stroke by stroke. Like a story becoming more meaningful with every chapter. The years did not erase your uniqueness. The years revealed it. And that is why people keep noticing. That is why people keep wondering. That is why people keep remembering. That is why people continue talking about you. Because what they see is not merely beauty. What they see is experience. What they see is growth. What they see is authenticity. What they see is strength. What they see is wisdom. What they see is someone who became more valuable instead of less. And in a world where so many people fear the passing of time, that sight is unforgettable. So if you've ever wondered why people seem surprised when they look at you, why they pause when they learn your age, why they remember you long after meetings end, why they speak about you when you're not around, why they continue watching your journey, now you know. It was never only about appearance. It was never only about age. It was never only about beauty. It was about something far rarer. Something deeper. Something that cannot be measured. You became the fullest version of yourself available in this season of your life. And every year that passes reveals that truth a little more clearly. That is the uniqueness people sense. That is the mystery people feel. That is the reason people are shocked. And that is why your story is far from finished. In many ways, the most extraordinary chapter may still be ahead.